What's up, truth seekers? Casey Neistat finally did it. He crossed that very fine line between entertainer and political commentator. For those of you who don't know who Casey is, he's a YouTuber slash vlogger who's actually taken his daily life and turned it kind of into a Truman Show. The camera just follows him around all the time.
Good morning!
He makes excellent videos, and I've really enjoyed his work for a long time. Now, Casey celebrated National Coming Out Day by coming out for Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton. I will be voting for Hillary Clinton.
And not only that, by suggesting that all of us do the same. We must all band together and put this woman in office.
That's Hillary Clinton. Check this out. That's me, Casey Neistat. Nice.
Now, for you lovers of irony, Casey actually did this the same week that WikiLeaks released emails about Hillary Clinton. One of them of particular interest to me was the one addressed to John Podesta, who's Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, which says, well, we all thought the big problem for a U.S. democracy was Citizens United or the Koch brothers raising money in politics. Silly us, or big money in politics. Silly us. Turns out that money isn't all that important if you can conflate entertainment with the electoral process. Casey, they're talking about you. They continue. I'm certain the poll-directed insiders are sure things will default to policy as soon as the conventions are over. But I think not. As I've mentioned, we've all been quite content to demean government, drop civics, and in general conspire to produce an unaware and compliant citizenry. Did you hear that? And in general conspire to produce an unaware and compliant citizenry. So in an effort to raise awareness, I'm just going to point out a few things that Casey left out of his video. Despite Casey's claim to be
entirely aware of all the criticism against her, I'm aware of all of her failures and shortcomings.
Casey, I got some questions for you, and this one's actually of particular interest to you and your chosen vocation. Do you know which candidate put a YouTuber in jail? Casey, did you know that Hillary Clinton's husband has allegedly raped or sexually assaulted numerous women and committed consensual adultery with probably over a dozen more? Did you know that? Did you know that Hillary Clinton shamed and persecuted these women as part of a coalition to deal with what they called the bimbo eruptions that could potentially derail their political ambitions? That's pretty bad, right?
This has to do with morals and principles.
Okay, so some people say, hey, look, that wasn't Hillary, that was her husband. That's the guy she's married to. I mean, so what if there was Travelgate and Cattlegate and Watergate and Emailgate and like that's, you know, their marriage, they got to stick together. She's a victim in all this. Sure, okay. Casey, did you know that Hillary Clinton actually got a child rapist off the hook? Did you know that she joked that he passed a polygraph somehow, even though she knew he was guilty?
This has to do with morals and principles.
Did you know this woman has come out and said it has ruined her life? And that there's not a day goes by that she doesn't think about it? Did you know that?
But she's intelligent, and she knows what she's doing.
Now, one thing that caught my attention is, as a Christian person, it doesn't matter to me if you believe what I believe or if you think the Bible's nonsense. Hang with me here. As a secular person who's read the historical account of the Bible, you won't find any record of Jesus coercing anyone to do anything. So if he is a powerful person, one of his virtues was that he persuaded through words, through deeds, through actions, through compassionate service. Hillary doesn't believe in that. Did you know that, Casey? In fact, Hillary said this.
Look, I don't believe you change hearts. I believe you change laws, you change allocation of resources, you change the way systems operate.
She doesn't think you can change people's hearts. She thinks you have to change the laws. This is totalitarian speak. This is don't tell people what to do, make them do what you want them to do.
She's responsible.
Now, to me, this makes perfect sense because I know that Hillary's political and intellectual mentors are Saul Alinsky and Carol Quigley. I don't want to spend a lot of time on those two people. I just want to make sure that you know that Saul Alinsky's life's work was dedicated to Satan. Saul Alinsky is the father of modern community organizing. He learned his trade at the knees of guys who were in organized crime, shaking down legitimate institutions for money and for power. Hillary Clinton wrote her senior thesis on this gentleman, and when she became First Lady, it was sealed for a while, but it finally got released. It was called There Is Only the Fight. Casey, do you know what that means?
Morals and principles.
Saul Alinsky had said that battles over rights, whether they're civil rights, religious rights, women's rights, gay rights, pick any right that you want, aren't actually about rights. Now, according to Alinsky, these should never be seen as more than an occasion to advance the actual agenda, which is what? the accumulation of power and resources in the hands of radicals. So Casey, did you know any of this? And if you did, do you care? It's one or the other. You either didn't know or you don't care. In Rules for Radicals, which is the book where he dedicated the work to Satan, Alinsky wrote, quote, "From the moment an organizer enters a community, he lives, dreams, eats, breathes, and sleeps only one thing, and that is to build the mass power base of what he calls the army."
We have the power to activate a demographic, an electorate that isn't typically very active.
Now, this is a man who offered a job to Hillary Clinton when she graduated. They had communicated via letters, and she obviously was very fond of him, which is why she chose to write this thesis. But she disagreed on some things, not on the ends, but on the means of acquiring this power. That's where they kind of split. Let me go to Carroll Quigley for a moment. Now, he's another mentor of both Hillary and Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton actually mentioned him in his presidential inauguration speech as his favorite professor. Carroll's book that's most famous is called Tragedy and Hope. What is it about, Casey? Do you know? It's a history of civilizations. As the pages turn, it describes how elitists use tax-exempt foundations, Clinton Foundation, national banks, and subversive political means to gain power over free peoples. The last chapters are gems. Quigley demonstrates his disdain for the middle class and makes the case that people were happier when the world consisted of kings and slaves. Now, after reading Carroll Quigley's book, I actually picked up Cleon Skousen's review and commentary of the book, which is called The Naked Capitalist. He discusses these elites who are ushering in the New World Order and how the title of Quigley's book actually means it will be a tragedy for those who resist the coming world government, and we can only hope they do not resist. What's strange to me is that this message would resonate with someone who's admitted that, as WikiLeaks reported, she's pretty far removed from the middle-class lifestyle. Now, Casey, I got another question. Did you know that Hillary Clinton's campaign manager actually admitted that she's really starting to hate everyday Americans? Or in other words, the same people that you're telling to go vote for her? Did you know that?
I'm entirely aware of all the criticism against her.
This is actually my biggest issue, what Casey did. I like people sharing their opinions. I like to know where people stand. But we've already got these craptastic celebrity videos of them being self-righteous and preachy about who to go out and vote for. So Casey, another question. Does a civically minded person who's informed on the issues need to be shepherded to the polls? Do they need to be told by a YouTube celebrity who to vote for? They don't. Another question. Is it responsible for you to encourage millions of young and probably semi-politically clueless individuals to run out and go vote for the person that you support for president without them understanding the ramifications of that vote? I don't think it's responsible at all. I mean, did you even know that voter turnout is basically at a historic national high? Check out this graph. What percentage of the nation do you think understands the proper constitutional role of the executive branch, the checks and balances put in our government to protect us from ever spiraling into a dictatorship or a monarchy? Did you know that the founders' big argument in the Federalist Papers is whether or not to have a sole individual in charge of the executive branch for this exact reason? They were terrified. They knew that power corrupts, but more importantly, that power attracts the already corrupted. But more importantly, being president is a job. And Hillary's proven that she has no interest in doing the job in the way that it's outlined in the Constitution. Look, Casey, I enjoy your videos. I don't doubt your sincerity, but I do believe that you're breaching the trust that you built up with your audience under the guise of being courageous. I think it's a mistake. You say that doing nothing makes me and others complicit in the election of someone like Donald Trump. I say that using your very influential platform to conflate entertainment with the electoral process will have severely negative and unintended consequences for all of us. So don't do it again.
I also, want to thank Casey Neistat.